All right, so today is Palm Sunday, and we are starting in Holy Week, marching toward Easter, and we're looking at the story of Jesus' triumphal entry into Jerusalem that we read in Luke 19. And many of your Bibles or your study Bibles will have a little subtitle, The Triumphal Entry. But not a lot of us are feeling very triumphant right now. Let's just be honest about that. It's a difficult time. It's a difficult chapter. How would I summarize how people are doing? As I've talked to people, messaged people, emailed people, not only from my own experience, but hearing what other people say and also reading things about what's going on, I think how I would summarize the response to the question, how are you really doing? In 4 words, I think a lot of people would respond like this: I'm barely hanging on. I'm barely hanging on. There are just so many challenges, so many levels to the challenges that people are experiencing. Maybe for some it's depression. And the weight of that darkness is something that they've never really experienced before. Maybe some people it's some kind of anxiety, and there are different kinds of anxiety. And some people are experiencing a fraying of the mind. And those who have dealt with anxiety know or are learning how heavy emotionally that is to carry on a daily basis. Some families are experiencing some kind of fracture and might not make it. Some professionals, depending on what they do, and almost like an ongoing shell shock. There's a group of people about 6 months ago, and they're like, okay, when this is all over, we're going to have these big parties and gatherings and big social things. For some of those people now, they are kind of recessing into themselves week by week, and some of them are saying, I'm not sure I can ever really enter society in a social way the same as it was before. There are some kids now, their earliest memory of childhood, maybe their defining experience of childhood will be this pandemic. Who they couldn't see, what they couldn't do, these types of things. And so what is a word from God to us on Palm Sunday, on this difficult chapter in our lives when many people are barely hanging on? There is a word from God for us, and we're going to go to the Bible, Luke 19, to find an answer. And this is just a reminder that this is the primary place where we learn about God's will. So when we go to the scriptures, we're not messing around. It's not like we want to just go here and find read a story quickly and find some little nugget of inspiration, although we are frequently inspired and in powerful ways. We go into the scripture and we look at the context, we look at the background, what's going on. Why? Because we want to understand it. This is God's word, which it is. We want to know with greater clarity what it means, so that we can then more powerfully and succinctly apply some of these learnings to our modern lives. And so that's what we're going to do as we look the context. Context matters, details matters behind Luke 19 and these stories, right? And we'll do it all throughout Easter, the Easter season. Just a little illustration about why context or details matter, why we're not just uncovering these details and going deep because it's fun, although as a Bible thumper, I think it is fun. But because it helps us gain this clarity of understanding and meaning. So, for example, let's say you're the prime minister. You've become elected. Congratulations. We won't talk about what party you've been elected to. That's a topic for another day. But anyway, let's say you're prime minister of Canada. You go and you're meeting with the president of Greece. And you're there, and, great, Canada-Greece relations. And you're, outside of some big monument or whatever with the president of Greece, and you're, a photo op, and you're giving the thumbs up, right? And your executive assistant is off to the side saying, no, don't do that. And you're like, what are you talking about? Like, no, don't do that. And little did you know that the thumbs up, although that's like a sign of approval in North America, it's like flipping the bird in Greece. It's not a good thing that you want to do. It's like the middle finger. So the context of that cultural background and the local scene matters, right? Because it means, oh wait, that executive assistant wasn't being rude to you, but was trying to prevent you from being rude to millions of people. So that's why we go into the detail, the context, what is actually going on in the text, so we can truly and better understand and apply it to our lives. So we're in Luke 19. We'll be going through Luke, and as you're reminded, Luke was a doctor, a co-worker of the Apostle Paul, learned person. He is he's recording from eyewitnesses these stories about the life and significance of Jesus of Nazareth. And as we've been going through, he's been journeying toward Jerusalem, and now we're there, right? We're at the precipice of Holy Week. And Jesus, he's teaching about the kingdom of God, right? Which is where God reigns and rules as king. What kind of kingship? Love, mercy, holiness, truth, power, goodness, all these things. And he has been talking the talk of the kingdom and then walking the walk of the kingdom. So he's not only teaching what it's like, he is then showing what it's like as he heals people, as he gains a following, as he does these miraculous things, as he exorcises demons over people. He's doing these powerful things in the spiritual realm. He's showing people what God's creation, his world, was originally intended to be like, and is again breaking into the world through his words and work, and what it will again be like one day. So his popularity is ballooning. And here we come to chapter 19, verse 28. I'm reading from the New International Version. If you've got your Bible, I encourage you to open up, make some notes. There's nothing wrong with that. I encourage that. Maybe there's something that's going to jump out to you that is particularly relevant in this chapter of your life. If you've got the Westminster Church app on your phone or tablet, maybe you want to click on notes and you can fill in some of the fields. And if you don't have your Bible, the words will be up there on the screen. After Jesus had said this, he went on ahead going up to Jerusalem. Pause. Said what? Well, we haven't read it, but just prior to that was the parable of the minas or the pounds. It's about a king entrusting some people with some money, put that money to work, and it's about the people, whether or not they acknowledge him as king, what they do with that money. And so with this story about a king in their minds, he goes on to go into Jerusalem as a king. So a kingship is a theme, and he goes to Jerusalem. Now, again, what's the significance? It comes up so often, we can forget the significance. So Jerusalem is, that city of renown, great city, but why are they there now? Well, it's because it's the Passover festival. So adult males, quite often with their families, would go to Jerusalem if they were able 3 times a year. And one of them was Tabernacles, Weeks, and Passover. And one of them was Passover. And so they're there. So the population of the city has ballooned. There is religious fervor in the air. And this is the Passover when they remember God freeing the Hebrews from slavery in Egypt. So it's about this liberation, about God's goodness to them. However, because of that, there's also a tension in the air. Why? Because if it's a celebration where they're remembering their freedom, now, when they're celebrating that freedom, they're not truly free. They're more free than they were back under Pharaoh in Egypt. However, they have a limited freedoms. However, still, they've got these Roman overlords. Caesar and the Romans are ruling them. And so there's this tension in the air. They want this. And they've been singing the songs of their faith. They're there with their fellow people, countrymen and women, and they're singing the songs of the faith. And there's this fervor. There's been this anticipation of a Messiah, a deliverer, someone who would come and free them from oppression from the Romans, a deliverer for the people. So all this is in the air and in the background of the story. Verse 29, as he approached Bethpage and Bethany, at the hill called the Mount of Olives. So Bethpage and Bethany, think towns like out in the suburbs, only a couple kilometers, 2-3 kilometers from Jerusalem. Coming up to the Mount of Olives, which is really like a north-south ridge east of the city, he sent 2 of his disciples, saying to them, "Go to the village ahead of you, and as you enter it, you will find a colt there, which no one has ever ridden. Untie it and bring it here. If anyone asks you, 'Why are you untying it?' say, 'The Lord needs it.'" Okay, pause there for a second. So a couple things about the colt. First, some people say to me, isn't it weird that Jesus just kind of takes a person's colt? Like, isn't that kind of bizarre? Well, at first blush, maybe, but we need to remember that this is actually an ancient practice called angaria, where an animal is pressed into service for a sacred task by a special person or an important figure. So this is clear. As the story goes on, we will see that is actually the case. So if this person, it's a Passover, if this person is devout, which they probably are, and someone says, "The Lord needs something," chances are they're probably going to want to cooperate. And it's not like he takes it forever. He's using it for this special purpose. That's one thing. Here's another big piece of that background, that context that we're talking about, okay? So what we need to know is that the book of Zechariah, written about 500 years before the story we're reading about today, really bears on the meaning, if we understand the meaning of what's going on. Now, one of the details that people maybe neglect to realize, but I think really would have been in the minds of many people back here, is that there is a prophecy in Zechariah about a coming day of judgment, a victory of light over darkness that would be inaugurated where? The Mount of Olives. So the fact that the Mount of Olives is named would have probably conjured some of these ideas in people's heads. Not only that, but there's very explicit detail about a future king, a future liberator, entering the city on a colt. Now, it's so significant, we're going to put it up here on the screen, and I'm going to read it to you. Zechariah 9, verses 9 and 10. Rejoice greatly, daughter Zion. Shout, daughter Jerusalem. See, your king comes to you, righteous and victorious, lowly, humble, and riding on a donkey, on a colt, the foal of a donkey. Pause. So Jesus, choosing a donkey, is saying to everyone who's around that he is consciously identifying with this king. Okay? What kind of a king is he? Verse 10, I will take away the chariots from Ephraim and the war horses from Jerusalem, and the battle bow will be broken. He will proclaim peace to the nations. His rule will extend from sea to sea and from the river to the ends of the earth. And that ends those two verses. And so those are very, very significant. So we learn that Jesus is identifying with this deliverer, this king. Also, we learn about the nature of his kingship. He's a servant, a humble king, a bringer of peace. Now, before we just go ahead and think, okay, this is kind of fairly innocent then, we can't forget that there's significant political overtones to what is going on here. So this would have been a dangerous situation and would have been one of the details that set Jesus on a collision course with the authorities. Another detail that figures into this, I think would have been kind of in some of the people's minds back then, maybe not so much today, but it still figures into the meeting, is that King Solomon, 1,000 years before this story, when he was dedicated as the future king in 1 Kings 1, he is put on the royal mule. So you put all this stuff together, the fact that it's Passover, the pilgrims, the population of the city is ballooning. People are thinking about their liberation, but they're not totally free. There's been this prophecy, a future day of judgment where victory and light reigns over darkness, inaugurated on the Mount of Olives, and then the king coming on a colt, and then all these royal things of kingship, and then Jesus speaking in such a way like. This would have brought negative attention. Why? Because there's only one king, according to the Romans, and it's Caesar, not Jesus. All this is kind of getting stirred up in the air. Verse 32, those who were sent ahead went and found it just as he had told them as they were untying the colt. Its owners asked them, why are you untying it? They replied, the Lord needs it. Verse 35, they brought it to Jesus, threw their cloaks on the colt, and put Jesus on it. And as he went along, people spread their cloaks on the road. Pause. Cloaks. It's a nice scene, right? So they put their cloak on the animal, which is like a saddle. It's like a poor man's saddle. And then they put their cloaks on the road. Remember, a lot of people probably only had one cloak. This was valuable to them. They are honoring Jesus in this moment. It's not like they have 10 other cloaks back in the back of their SUV or back in their closet back home. They're following Jesus, giving their lives to him. It's kind of like, to the world looking on, this would have been a kind of a pathetic parade. But how beautiful this is. They are giving to him what has value to them to show the value he has to them. It's a beautiful moment. Imagine if those who respect the monarchy and the queen's on your street, and the street's filthy, and she's going to cross, and she's got her diamond slippers, whatever queens wear on their feet, I don't know. Anyway, and you spread some blankets or coats on the road. It's a sign of respect. This is the ancient red carpet treatment. Okay? Verse 37, when he came near the place where the road goes down the Mount of Olives, there again, the whole crowd of disciples began joyfully to praise God in loud voices for all the miracles they had seen. Blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord. They're yelling out, peace in heaven and glory in the highest. They're calling out. Now here, things are really starting to get rolling, right? They're there, and they're there for the Passover festival and the Mount of Olives, and all of a sudden the king and the colt, and they're seeing these prophecies come together. Not only that, but they've had these tough lives, and this is Jesus. They've been walking with him. It says disciples. They know about him. And so he's been the one who healed their friend or someone in their family, or maybe even themselves sometimes. This is that Jesus and the prophecies, and they're here singing the Hallel from their tradition. They're singing the songs of their faith. It's all happening in their lifetime, and they can't believe that they get a chance to see it. Incredible. Blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord, they say. This is a quote from Psalm 118. And pilgrims would say this on 2 festivals to Jerusalem, Tabernacles and Passover, and this is Passover. This is the greeting. They are participating in the traditions of their ancestors, and everything is happening now. Peace in heaven and glory in the highest. Now pause. A little bit of a digression. Some of you are saying, like, where's the palms? It's Palm Sunday. Hey, where are the palms? We want the palms. Now, you know that the story is told in different Gospels. Mark tells of leafy branches, but the detail about the palms come in John chapter 12. So that's where that comes in. Now, what's the significance of palms? Well, again, some history can help us a little bit. And again, there's only one palm tree native to the Holy Land, large branches, 6 to 10 feet long. Dial it back a little bit to a significant moment in the nation's history. Think, 167 to 160 BC. There was the Jewish revolt, and the leader was Judas Maccabeus, not the Judas from Good Friday, and it's Maundy Thursday, but Judas Maccabeus, another leader, and they have to reclaim the temple back, and they have to re-purify it, and they re-get it back from over the Syrians. And what do they bring into the temple? Palm branches. So for that and a few other reasons, some have suggested this is a kind of like flag of Israelite identity about their freedom. And so there's all these political overtones. All this stuff is going on. Verse 39, some of the Pharisees in the crowd, the religious teachers, said to Jesus, "Teacher, rebuke your disciples." I tell you, he replied, "If they keep quiet, the stones will cry out." So the Pharisees, fellow Jews, right, but religious teachers, and we've talked about the Pharisees before, like, keep it down. See, they realize that the Romans just see them, all of them kind of with one brush stroke. Hey, there's only one king, it's Caesar, and if they just think that we're here coronating a new king, Jesus, then it's going to be bad for all of us. Rebuke your disciples, which means tell them to shush, close it, zip it. And Jesus says, no. If they keep quiet, even these stones will cry out. Stones can't speak. He's using dramatic, beautiful, powerful language. Why? He's saying that inanimate objects can even see and acknowledge what you are too blind to see. The creation will cry out and sing. Verse 41, as he approached Jerusalem, he saw the city, he wept over it. Now, there's some different words for crying. This isn't sniffles, this is weeping. Remember the last time you heard someone weeping? Weeping. Jesus, who has already shown his almightiness, he's the king, he's shown foreknowledge of events, he is weeping. Wept over it and said, if even you had only known on this day what would bring you peace, but how it is hidden from your eyes. The days will come upon you when your enemies will build an embankment against you and encircle you and hem you in on every side. They will dash you to the ground, and the children within your walls, they will not leave one stone on another, because you did not recognize the time of God's coming to you. Powerful words from Jesus. There's an irony going on. So Jerusalem, now it's not totally agreed upon what the name Jerusalem technically means, but the last part, Salem, many people think that comes from the word shalom. So city of peace. And the irony here is that the city of peace does not recognize its true source of peace, and there will be doom and destruction for their blindness. And we know, because we live after the fact, that this destruction actually took place in the Jewish-Roman War, culminating in the destruction of the temple under the Roman general Titus in the year 70. Jerusalem leveled, the temple leveled, according to one account I saw, 600,000 people die. 600,000 people die. It says, they will not leave one stone on another, because you did not recognize the time of God's coming to you. And I think a closer translation here is the time of your visitation. A visit from Jesus is a visit from God. We'll end the text there. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Palms, a certain kind of revolution. a sovereign, weeping king. What is a word to God from us on a day like this, at a time in this life when so many people feel like they're barely hanging on? Well, there's a variety of things that we could focus on. One is just the fact that Jesus is king, and he's a certain kind of king, and he is a king who is humble. He is a king who is a bringer of peace. Absolutely, we could focus on that. We could also focus on the fact that we need to let Jesus tell us the kind of king he is. Why? Because it's so easy for us today to try to make Jesus into the king that we want him to be. We co-opt him and we remold him and make him to a Jesus that just suits our own desires. I'll give you 3 examples on the political right. So people say, Jesus defended these exact 3 individual liberties, and those who don't agree and those who don't belong to this political party, Jesus will rain hellfire down on you. That's one example. Then there's on the political left, where people co-opt and take Jesus and just, get him to ordain their own version of wokeism or whatever latest issue, regardless of what Jesus may or may not have said. It's another way of co-opting Jesus. And then each of us has our own individual version of that. There's things that we say that we like that he says, and we take those and we just kind of conveniently forget the parts and the things that he said that we don't like. And that's going to be different for different people. So we could focus on that. But I think today what I think we should focus on is the fact that Jesus is our true king, but the kind of king he is. And I think this is significant because today we've kind of lost a sense of what meaningful and prized kingship actually means. And there's a few reasons for that. One is because as modern people, we're naturally anti-authority. Right? We're postmodern in our thinking and everything else. And we've just grown up. It's in the air we breathe. We're suspicious of people in authority and power and something like a king. It sounds so oppressive, right? They're just in it for the money or the power or whatever. So that's just into the air we breathe. A second reason why it can be hard to reflect on the good news of the true kingship Jesus has in our lives is because we don't really have any kind of example or experience with like a king, like what is talked about in the Bible. The closest a lot of us have might be like the British monarchy, and most of what and that's nothing like kingship in the ancient world. So good, faithful kingship. So you might see some ceremonial duty, someone doing something, or some fodder for the tabloids that's not significant. Like you might get different things, but it's nothing like. But in the ancient world, a king was so prized. Was just prized and valued. A king protected the people from invasion and from foreign armies. And that was amazing. And it wasn't just from some ivory tower. Quite often you read about the kings being on the forefront of the battle. That's how much they cared for their people and took this seriously. They were a protector. Another thing is that a king administered justice and order. So not only was that good for the structure and running of society, but you and your friends and your family could live life under this kind of system that was running well and wherein justice and order was administered properly. That's amazing. But here's the thing about a king that is just so lost from our view, but we need to reclaim because it really is significant to us as we think about Jesus. The king was a caregiver, sometimes called a shepherd. Kings, especially in the Israelite context, would also pray for their people. How amazing would that be? Not only that, but what's best for the subjects, that's what the king focuses on. And this is who Jesus is for us. And here's another thing, too, about our time. As we think, okay, Jesus, he might have been a king back then, but I don't know how that really affects me today because that was like a long time ago, and that was back in Jerusalem. Part of the significance, and in North America, we virtually lost this in the past 100 years, is part of the significance of the ascension. Right? Jesus is crucified, he's resurrected, he ascends to be at his Father's right hand. Part of the significance of the ascension is while Jesus was here on earth, he voluntarily entered into a situation where he was constricted by time and space. So he couldn't be in Calgary and Jerusalem. After the ascension, he was no longer bound by time and space. So he reigns and rules with his heavenly Father. And he is our king now, doing those things for us now, out of care, out of love for us now. And he is not constricted by time and space anymore. And he cares for us, friends. And that is good news because we need to rest in the good news of this. That Jesus, the one who needs to be in charge is. The one who needs to know what he's doing does. Right now, for all of us. When so many people are barely holding on. I was talking to someone several years ago about I won't say their name, but they were going into an operation and they were nervous. Makes sense. They were nervous. Never gone through something like this before. It's a big deal. But then they talked to the doctor. And the doctor had a really good bedside manner. And not all doctors do. Like some do, some don't. But it really makes a difference when there's a really good bedside manner. And the doctor took some time, explained a bit about what was going on in terms they could understand. The doctor, give the impression that he cared because he did. He explained what was going on. I've done, so many of these procedures, and the vast majority, everything turns out fine. There's no problem. And the doctor even offered to pray for them. Talk to the congregant after the fact. How you feeling? Oh, a lot better. Why? Because I know I'm in good hands. I know I'm in good hands. Friends, brothers and sisters, in Christ, under King Jesus, you are in good hands. The one who truly needs to be in charge is. The one who needs to know what he's doing does. Think about the good hands in which we find ourselves as subjects of King Jesus, that great prized, perfect King. Think of, especially coming to Easter, all the stuff that he's going to go through. The hands of your King will take bread and break it. This is my body, which is given for you. The hands of your King will take a cup. This is the blood of my covenant poured out for you. The hands of your King will wipe blood from his face that has gone down from his forehead because he's wearing a crown of thorns. The hands of your King will carry a cross to Golgotha, a cross that you should be carrying. We're the ones that have transgressed God and his laws, not him. He's carrying it for us. That's the kind of King we have. The hands of your King will, and we remember this every year, every Sunday, but especially on Good Friday, stakes will go through his wrists. He will pay the consequence of our sin and brokenness and rebellion against God so that you and I can have peace and forgiveness with God in eternity forever. Why? Because he loves you that much. The hands of your King will emerge from the empty tomb on Sunday morning, warmed by the sun, as he walks out of there victorious over sin, death, darkness, evil, Satan himself, for you. That is our King. So, sometimes we just need to rest in the good news that when we're feeling like we're barely holding on, the one who needs to be in charge is. The one who truly needs to know what he's doing does. And we just need to rest in him. Friends, you are in good hands. Amen.